Hello, and welcome to the Grouping and Mapping course, Chapter 2, Lesson 2. Last time, we started our 3-step plan to creating our engineer's reports. During this video, we're going to complete Step 1, creating the mapping. Last time, we just created the mapping, the architectural installations, and its groups, windows and doors. During this video, we're going to add the properties to this. The windows group needs height and width. The doors grouping needs both height and width, but then 2 others. The doors group needs a type, but then also the paint area of the doors. Without any more delay, let's move into the application and we can see the same structure there. Last time, we created our architectural installations mapping for our procurement manager, Paul, with its 2 groups, doors and windows. And while we did have a few extra elements with our doors grouping, this is good enough for us to get started. So, let's add in our properties. We have 3 different options here. We have properties or group properties, we have calculated properties, and we have custom calculations. We'll start with the simplest of all, calculated properties. These calculated properties are simply calculated off of the geometry of the elements. This includes things like edge lengths and volume and so on. We will use this to calculate the height and width of our doors. And we can visually confirm that this is the height of our door. So we'll name this height, hit save, and do the same thing for our width. And with that, we already finished our height and the width of the doors. So now we'll move down the list into our custom calculations. These have the greatest potential. They allow you to type your own formulas to be evaluated. You can see a list of all the allowed operations on the doc site. As you can see, there's a lot of options. A link to this documentation will be included in the description below. These formulas could be mathematical or logical expressions, or both. You can even use other properties as variables, which is what we're about to do. We'll use this in order to calculate the painting area of our door. This will simply be our width times our height. As you can see, there is a certain amount of spell checking with this as well. Then we will set our final option, the quantity type. The quantity type does not have a direct effect on the data, but it simply empowers the consumer of the data with this information. We'll use it later when we present the data, in order to infer the units of our properties. But when it comes to our paint area, our quantity type is an area. And with that, we are finished with our custom calculation. Now we have our height and our width, and we have our paint area. But the last thing we need to know about the doors is the type of door, whether it be a large rolling bay door or your more traditional swinging door. So we will add a property, or by its formal name, group properties. These are called group properties because they come from the group, the elements filtered by the group's query. We can understand this better by looking at the dialog for creating these elements. By clicking on the select properties, we can see a list of all the possible properties to choose from. All the properties in this list are related to the elements selected by the query, but that doesn't mean that every element has all of these properties. That is why the widget gives us the option to define multiple properties for a single group property. When it is time for data extraction, the grouping and mapping service will check if the first property in the list is defined. If not, it will move down the list until it finds that's one defined. Only after the list is exhausted will the API extract an undefined value. Now, you may be wondering, how did I know which properties to select? I discovered these properties while exploring the data itself. In the next video, we will go over tips and tools in order to explore the data and become more intimate with it yourself. But for now, these properties will do. I'll go ahead and close this dialog, and we'll fill in the property details. First is our name, Then we'll go with quantity type, which we are already familiar with, which this is simply a string. So there is no quantity type to this. Then finally is data type. Unlike quantity type, data type actually does have an effect on the data, albeit a minor one. What this is simply a JavaScript conversion to the selected type. And with that, our final group property is complete. We'll save that. Our doors group is complete. The last step to completing this mapping is finishing off our windows group. It still needs its height and width, which we've already done for the doors, so I'll do that really quick. And that completes our windows grouping. We now have both our doors and windows groups complete, which means that our architectural installations mapping is now finally complete. With the mapping created, we will finally be able to complete our 3-step plan to create our reports. In the next video, we will extract that data into our raw OData widget. And then we will be able to present that data in our specialized procurement widget. I'll see you then.